If you're anything like us, you probably felt that familiar pull of the wellness hamster wheel. You know what I mean. The endless cycle of new diets, maybe gym memberships that, well, collect dust, and these quick fixes that promise everything, but often just deliver frustration, not really fulfillment. It's a pretty common struggle, isn't it? That feeling you're constantly chasing something that's just out of reach. So today we're taking a deep dive into an intriguing set of sources from Hazak Trek, a biblical wellness journey. And it sounds like it proposes a profoundly different approach to what true well-being actually looks like. It challenges that external focus right from the start.
That's precisely it, yeah. Our mission here in this deep dive is really to explore what it truly means to embark on a biblical plan for your wellness journey. Moving beyond those fleeting trends we all see towards something deeper, a more sustainable sense of wholeness. And the title itself gives us a powerful clue. Hazak, it means be strong, and trek, well, that signifies a personal journey. It really sets the stage for a unique kind of exploration of strength and self-discovery that, maybe surprisingly, begins deeply within.
It really is fascinating how Hazak Trek immediately challenges that common idea of wellness, starting externally, instead looking inward right from its prelude, which is called Loving the Temple Within.
Mm.
And what's truly compelling, I think, is how it reframes the very idea of self-love. It sort of pushes back against this notion that self-love is inherently selfish, which for many of us, that feels a bit counterintuitive, right? So how did the source fundamentally redefine that for us? And why is that redefinition so crucial?
It's absolutely a foundational shift. The sources bring up this really powerful mirror reflection idea. Just think about it for a second. How many of us, when we look in a mirror, aren't just seeing our physical reflection? Maybe we're also seeing, an inner critic or disappointment or a whole list of things we think are wrong. Hazak Trek asserts that self-love, when you view it through a divine lens, is absolutely not selfish. In fact, it presents it as the indispensable foundation for actually living out your purpose. It's about recognizing your inherent value as God's creation. It's not about ego, not self-absorption.
Okay, so if we often meet our own reflection with criticism or disappointment,
Yeah.
that leads perfectly into the empty cup analogy that these sources use. If our internal well is dry, as they put it, maybe filled with self-criticism, exhaustion, or neglect, well, how does that leave us with anything substantial to, nourish and uplift others? What are the tangible effects of this neglect on our daily lives, according to Hazak Trek?
Oh, the effects are profound and deeply practical. As the sources really emphasize, when that internal well is dry, our patience wears thin. That's a big one. Our joy can dim, and our ability to truly show up, to be present and empathetic for our loved ones, for our community, it becomes seriously diminished. It's just hard to pour from an empty cup. That's not just a metaphor. It plays out in very real day-to-day interactions.
Mm-hmm. And this connects directly, then, to a profound biblical truth highlighted in the material, that you are wonderfully and fearfully made. Described as a masterpiece in progress, a sacred temple. I mean, that's a powerful statement. But for someone maybe accustomed to thinking more about self-sacrifice, how does this source differentiate this kind of self-care from, say, selfishness? Is there a line it draws, especially when it says neglecting this temple is inadvertently diminishing the very gift God has given you?
That's such a critical distinction. Hazak Trek clarifies this isn't about self-indulgence at all. Instead, it frames neglecting this temple, your body, your mind, your spirit, as inadvertently diminishing God's gift to you. So it's not really about being selfish. It's much more about stewardship of what you've been given. When you intentionally care for this temple, it's framed as an act of respect, of gratitude for the Creator. Think of it less as taking for yourself and maybe more as maintaining this precious, divinely given instrument that you can use for good.
Right. That makes so much sense. So if you flip that, then you get what the sources call the overflow effect.
Yeah.
When you intentionally care for your body, feeding it well, moving it with purpose, allowing it to rest, you're building resilience, cultivating energy, fostering peace. But what's really powerful is the emphasis that this isn't just for you. So how does this overflow actually look in practice, beyond just personal benefit?
Yeah, the sources are very clear on this. This self-care fuels a kind of peace that naturally overflows into every interaction. It means you become, as they describe it, a powerful conduit for good in the world around you. When you're internally well balanced, your capacity for things like empathy, patience, kindness, it just naturally expands, and that impacts everyone you meet. It becomes a virtuous cycle.
And to really deepen that understanding, the sources actually state that loving yourself in this divine context is an act of worship.
Wow.
That really elevates self-care, doesn't it, to a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Why is caring for yourself considered an act of worship here? And how does it connect back to fulfilling your calling?
It's about honoring the creator by caring for his creation, and that creation is you. And the why it matters so profoundly is framed as so that you can fulfill your calling with vigor and grace. It's a very practical application of faith, really. It enables you to be your most effective self in the world, not just for your own personal benefit, but actually as a testament to and a tool for divine purpose.
And when you embrace this kind of divine self-care, Hazak Trek highlights some really powerful outcomes. First, you can love others authentically because you're not coming from that place of internal struggle. Second, you be a positive influence. Your energy, your joy, your peace become genuinely contagious, not forced. And third, you serve God with full capacity. So how do these outcomes truly demonstrate the power of this approach, where a cared-for body and mind become these ready instruments for His purposes?
Well, these outcomes really illustrate a holistic impact, don't they? When you're authentic in your self-care, you're not just saying you love others, you're actually living it out. It comes from an abundant inner life. And being a positive influence isn't something you have to try hard to do. It becomes a natural byproduct of your own peace and energy. And serving with full capacity, that means you're not constantly held back by preventable burdens like exhaustion or, emotional depletion. It's really about being fully available for what truly matters in all aspects of your life.
Yeah, that makes sense. It shifts the whole perspective.
And this brings us really nicely into Chapter 1 of Hazak Trek, which expands on this idea of seeking divine wellness. Here, the material draws a pretty stark contrast between what it calls the worldly pursuit of health, constantly chasing quick fixes, those fleeting trends we talked about, which often just leads to frustration, and what it terms the divine perspective. It's a fundamental shift in mindset.
Okay, so let's pause here and ask the key question that's posed right in the sources themselves. What is the main difference between seeking wellness from that worldly perspective versus a divine perspective? And, given everything we've just explored about the temple within and that overflow effect,
Yeah.
you might already be seeing how Hazak Trek draws a really clear line here.
Absolutely. From this divine perspective, true wellness is not just like the absence of sickness or a number on a scale. That's the worldly view, maybe. It's defined instead as a state of wholeness where your spirit, mind, and body work in harmony just as God designed them to.
Mhm.
Think of it maybe like a beautifully orchestrated symphony, right? Where every instrument, your mind, your body, your spirit is playing in perfect tune together, creating this unified, vibrant sound. This is where Hazak, that strength flows from. Not just physical effort, but an integrated divine source.
That orchestral analogy really paints a picture, doesn't it? And it really underscores the importance of moving beyond those fleeting worldly trends.
Sure.
So what's the practical implication then of building this kind of foundation for well-being? One that, as the source says, honors God and leads to lasting positive change, rather than just those temporary results that never seem to stick.
The practical implication is really about profound sustainability. Instead of chasing the next diet or fitness fad, you're building a lasting framework for well-being that truly honors your entire being, spirit, mind, and body. This approach isn't just about feeling better for a little while. It's really about cultivating a life where you not only flourish personally, but you also become the most loving, positive, and impactful reflection of God's grace in the world around you. That's the ultimate goal presented here.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive, the core insight from Hazak Trek really does seem to begin within. It challenges us to view self-care not as something selfish, but maybe as a divine act of worship, one that actually fuels our capacity to truly love and serve others with greater authenticity and vigor.
Exactly. And perhaps that leaves us with a thought to consider for the week ahead. If your body is truly considered a sacred temple, and if self-care is an act of worship in this context, what specific facet of your temple within, maybe physical, mental, spiritual, might be calling for more intentional love, care, or respect this week? What aspect, if nurtured, would truly empower you to fulfill your purpose with even greater vigor and grace? Something to consider as you go about your week.